You have a relationship with your accountant. You speak the language of money with your banker. Those are the things that are there. And I think it's literally our processes because we're not generations in. When you're not generations in, and that could just be in the knowledge of who's on your board, who's on your team. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to get your processes. You have to have a strong, what I consider, brain trust. And your brain trust can't always look like you. And you can hire them. So don't be afraid to hire Indian. Don't be afraid to hire and develop relationships in other cultures like China. There was a young brother that said he wanted to start a book or start in the book business. And I shared with him, call me. I'll charge you £1 of coffee. But I'll tell you who publishes my book. I'm not going to consult you. I'm just going to charge you coffee. I'll tell you where I get my books made in China. Because at the end of the day, I want my community to grow and not have all the mistakes that I made.
Thank you.
Now some people say, well, why would you want to be a consultant? I don't need another job. But I do want to grow my community's economy. And I don't want you to be robbed by other people in this community who would choose to rob you. And I think we don't necessarily have the processes to protect each other or to network with each other so that we can build the necessary trust that needs to be in our community.
Love it, love it, love it. How about for you, Don?
One of the things that I learned or was told to me was to understand my why. Because with the processes and all of that, you're going to have those bad days. And you have to believe in what you're doing. And you have to have a vision. So make sure that your vision is clear and make sure you understand where you're going. Pivoting is part of the process, I do agree. When I started my business, I started in one direction, and then I understood that there was a need in a direction that I didn't see. So I needed to pivot to make sure that I can incorporate that into my business plan. And going to what's the business plan? Also have a plan, put it in writing. Know what you're going to do, know where you're heading. And the business plan is also a living document. It's not written in stone. So you need to revisit it and you need to assess it and see if it's still workable or if it's still doing what it needs to do for you to head in the direction you need to and to grow.
One other thing I wanted to cite was the fact that the fastest growing group of folks in the entrepreneurial world are Black women. It's a bittersweet story. Because what we know that 98% of the Black women firms have no employees. And what we know with data and research is that almost 70% of companies that have no employees only have revenues of a maximum of $25,000. $25,000 or less. So while we celebrate that, we also have to realize if you own a company, you have annual revenue of $25,000, you are living below the poverty line. So what we also know from research is that companies, when they hit that $250,000 annual revenue mark, that's when they first start, and we have statistics to show that almost 60% of those companies will have profit, and if they have $250,000 at least of revenue, they have at least one employee. So what we need to do is think about, we're going to start a company, and if you start a company, your mindset should be, I'm solving a problem. This brother spoke about innovation. The foundation of innovation is you're trying to meet some unmet customer demand. You're trying to solve a problem. Don't be a me too. You got to be something different. But also the objective has to be, I'll do this incrementally, but $250,000 revenue is my first goal. Okay? Get there and then turbocharge and explode to the next level. But what we need is, we need 1 million Black-owned businesses that are doing at least $250,000 of revenue. Right now, it is something minuscule, okay? So we can celebrate the explosion of Black women, but we desperately need them to grow. Now, to that point, we need them to grow, and at the same time, what we know is access to capital is almost impossible. As one brother said, he said, Black people would be better off playing the lottery trying to get capital for their entrepreneurial firm than going to a bank or going to a venture capital firm. What we know statistically is the SBA, a government entity, last year they gave debt financing, approved debt financing. That went to SBA loans, only 1.7% of all SBA loans went to Black people. That's debt money that's guaranteed by our taxes, okay? In terms of venture capital money, less than 2% of that went to black people. In terms of venture capital for black women, less than 0.2% went to black women. So we got a problem. We know why the problem exists, and that is blatant anti-black racism. Therefore, a solution. Just like when we couldn't go to universities, we went and created our own universities, and we went to historically black colleges. Now I say